That good-for-nothing wife. Just ditch that woman before we get in real trouble. As soon as they thought I was asleep, my husband and his mother completely changed their attitudes. They left home, but claiming they didn't want to lose their assets, they shamelessly returned and began causing chaos. When I confronted them with reality. My name is Daisy. I'm 30 years old. I got engaged to my husband Brad after dating him for 5 years. We were living with his parents in their house. Initially, we had agreed to buy our own house when we have our first child. It's been nearly 2 years since then, but we haven't been blessed with a child, and we're still living with his parents. Living with my husband, his mother, and his younger brother, I was often the subject of concern from those around me. My parents lived far away, a distance that required air travel, and they always expressed regret that they could not help me. However, my husband was always kind to me, and I had a good relationship with my mother-in-law. So far removed from the typical mother-in-law, daughter-in-law issues that it felt like they didn't apply to us. Because of this, I was very happy. One day, I got into an accident and broke a bone. I was hospitalized and couldn't move on my own. In the early days after the accident, my husband and mother-in-law visited me daily and worried for me. Now, they only visit once a week. I was grateful they even came to visit, but the next day after the doctor told me I might have lasting injuries. She can't do housework or anything, but she's going to cost us more than ever. What a useless wife. If she has lingering issues, having kids is even more out of the question, right? Yeah, maybe. Now that it's come to this, I think it's a good thing we don't have kids. And if she stays bedridden forever, I'll have to do all the housework and care for her? I didn't agree to marry for this. Wasn't it to do the housework and caregiving? If she hadn't gotten into an accident, she could have continued as our maid. What a disappointment. Before this becomes too troublesome, please get rid of that woman. I'll get it. I'll divorce her quickly. Thinking I was asleep, the two of them had this conversation in my hospital room. I was nothing more than a maid and a caregiver to them. After that, the attitudes of my husband and my mother-in-law towards me became blatantly cold. Your husband hardly comes, does he? He must be searching for a new woman. If you only had a child, you could have kept him by the skin of your teeth. My husband wasn't even coming once a week anymore. My mother-in-law seemed to just be passing time by saying nasty things. My brother-in-law, however, was doing the laundry and checking if I needed anything, and was generally very helpful. He visited me nearly every day and even took me to the open-air area in my wheelchair when I felt suffocated by my long hospitalization. I was tired from physical therapy and wanted to give up at times, but I think I've made it this far thanks to my brother-in-law. His presence was that much of a help to me. I'm not getting worse, and physical therapy is going well. But it's still hard to say anything about any potential lingering issues. When I told my husband and mother-in-law about this, seriously? See, I told you we should have gotten rid of her sooner. The two of them started arguing over me. What are you two even saying? Aren't you being too harsh on Daisy, who's been taking care of our house and our father all this time? In reality, I had been taking care of my father-in-law for 5 years while dating my husband. When we started dating, we were told, "Why don't you live together, since you are both going to get married anyway?" Yeah, it's a great deal. We can save money and live together, and then get married when we're settled. When I hesitated, they said, It's okay, we have plenty of rooms and we won't invade your privacy. Plus, you don't need to pay rent. You want to marry my son, right? How could I refuse? But in return, we have a favor to ask, Daisy. While you're working from home, can you look after our father who needs care? It's only for 4 to 5 hours during the day when my mother's out for her part-time job. We also have my brother, so the two of you can work together. My brother-in-law was also working from home, so he and I teamed up to take care of my father-in-law in the house. My father-in-law and brother-in-law were very close. My father-in-law had a hobby of collecting furniture and even had a separate house just for it. My brother-in-law and I always enjoyed hearing about his hobby. My father-in-law loved his caring son, Reagan. Eventually, my father-in-law's health began to decline, and after years of care, he passed away. After that, my husband proposed to me, saying, "Thank you for always taking care of my father. Let's continue to be together. Let's get married." Despite having worked hard on housework and caregiving, the moment I became immobile, my husband and mother-in-law's attitude was as if I was worthless. Even I, normally composed, was infuriated. "If you're going to divorce me, please pay what you're supposed to." "Well, I don't want any trouble, so I'll give you the house. Let's waive other division of property." I wondered if he would really give me the house, but since my father-in-law had left an inheritance, a lot, and it was divided among my mother-in-law, Brad, and Reagan, the inheritance amounted to approximately $300,000 each, so he seemed to have enough assets. Reagan was told to handle all paperwork with the executor, and he had to visit the court several times, which was quite a hassle. "No way! We can't give away the house!" "If we divide the property, I'll lose half my savings. It's just a wastefully large house in the countryside. Even if we give it away, it's not an issue. Even at the highest estimate, it's only worth about $100,000. Plus, various fees will be deducted when we sell it. It's cheaper than losing half my savings." "Well, if you say so, Brad. But what if she demands more later? What if rumors spread in the neighborhood because we abandoned her?" The two debated what to do with me. "Then I'll take her in." Reagan, Brad's brother, interrupted. "Why would you go out of your way to do that?" "Ah, you've been interested in Daisy, haven't you? That's why you're so willing. You can have her if you want, but she's no longer of any use to us. Don't ask to take Daisy and the house back later, okay?" "Why would I? I just hope you won't come asking for money later. And remember, you can't return damaged goods." Brad and Reagan signed papers and arranged to formally change the property title through a lawyer. "I'll take out some money from my savings. So why don't you find a younger, healthier, and prettier woman to marry and build a better house?" "Sounds good. Hey, Daisy, get a lawyer to file for our divorce quickly." They said they'd stay in a hotel for a while and left the room. Reagan and I, left behind, silently saw them off. I had to find a lawyer to file for our divorce first. Reagan helped me to file for the divorce, and in a few days, Brad and I became complete strangers. A week later, Brad and my mother-in-law packed their belongings and left the house. It was strange that Reagan, Brad's brother, continued to visit me. "You don't have to visit anymore. We're strangers now that I've divorced your brother. There's no need for you to worry about your former sister-in-law." He responded, "I'm doing this because I want to. I didn't get along with you just because you were my brother's wife. We both provided care and did housework together. We've talked a lot more in these 7 years than you ever did with my brother. We're friends, aren't we?" Reagan said with a gentle smile. All I could do was express my thanks and gratitude. A month later, I was discharged from the hospital. Although I had to visit the hospital for physical therapy, I felt relieved to be home after such a long time. Do you think those two will really ever come back? I'm worried they might come back and make me work again. If they come back, I'll drive them away. I can't forgive them for treating you so horribly. Plus, they have no right to return to this house, Reagan reassured. I was still unable to move as before, so Reagan took care of most of the household chores. Fortunately, as I had been working from home as a freelancer, I was able to return to work and contribute financially. Thanks to the bi-weekly physical therapy, I recovered smoothly without any complications. A year later, I was able to live as before, and Reagan and I collaborated on the housework. We spent more time together, syncing our days off to go on trips. Just when I thought our peaceful days would continue, a storm suddenly came. One night, while Reagan and I were eating dinner, the door was knocked, and the intercom rang repeatedly. When I nervously answered, the person on the monitor was Brad. "Hey, open up!" Thinking this noise might disturb the neighbors, I opened the front door, and Brad entered the house without hesitation. "What do you want?" "Huh? Why do I have to put up with such an attitude just for coming home? This isn't your home anymore. State your business and leave quickly." "What are you talking about? I'll be living here again from today. Oh, I'm hungry. Hey, Daisy, give me some food." My ex-husband ordered me to serve food. "Hey, cut it out! Why are you here?" "Well, I've spent almost all my money. My mom will be here soon, too. So leave the door unlocked." Seeing that I remained silent, "Oh, you're all healed up, huh? That's great. Let's get back together. You must have had a hard time without me." My ex-husband, who still mistakenly believed I loved him, said, approaching me with a disgusting familiarity. The sheer audacity of him made me feel sick. "Stop it. I divorced you. I don't care about you anymore." "Don't get cocky. You've been living on my money all this time, and you can't do anything but housework. Just shut up and do as I say." Brad shouted at me. Just then the door opened and his mother arrived. "You left the door unlocked. That's careless." "Oh, what's going on?" "She's been getting cheeky, so I was giving her a bit of education. She's grown thick-skinned in the year we've been away." Once again, Brad and his mother began to make themselves at home, as if it was the most natural thing in the world. "Enough is enough. This isn't your home. I'm calling the police." "Oh yeah, about that. This house was originally in your father's name, right? So that means that the heir, including my mother, makes our agreement null and void, doesn't it?" Brad said, shouting such an unreasonable claim. "You promised to give me the house. If you're nullifying that, then everything about the division of property should be nullified as well. Give me half the savings." "Sure, but I don't have it anymore. Didn't I tell you earlier? I've squandered it all. I quit my job, spent it all on booze, fun, investments, you name it." I was taken aback by Brad's words. It was unbelievable that he could have spent such a large sum of money in just 1 year. "Also, I have some debts with consumer finance. About $20,000, I guess. Can you pay for me?" I initially thought he was lying, but his mother confirmed it. "I can't lend you that much money." "I'm not asking you to lend it. I'm telling you to pay it." "I'm not giving you any money. I'm calling the police." As Reagan dialed the police to report the situation, "You've become quite daring in the past year. You're just showing off because Daisy's here. Brad began to wreak havoc in the house, breaking the precious furniture that had been my father-in-law's keepsake. His mother also started to destroy the furniture, laughing as she did so. How could you do something so terrible? That's the closet my father-in-law cherished. Shut up. Brad and his mother continued their rampage, ignoring my pleas. About 10 minutes later, when the police arrived, I explained the situation to them. This is quite a mess. Let's hear your side of the story. Huh? What's wrong with me breaking things in my own house? That's right. We're just crushing things we don't need. What's the problem? When the police seemed unsure how to respond to this, Reagan stepped in. This house has never belonged to these two. It's under Daisy's name. Huh? What kind of nonsense are you talking about? Actually, before he passed away, our father-in-law left a will through a lawyer. Of course, you wouldn't know. You handed over what you were told and left the rest to Reagan. So this house was yours from the beginning? When I confirmed this, Brad and his mother stood dumbfounded. So this isn't your property, then? Oh, hold on. But I'm her ex-husband. We're like family, so she'll forgive me, right? Don't make me laugh. You're a stranger once you're an ex. I don't even know that you were in contact with another woman before our divorce was finalized, and who treated me like a maid, if not you. No, that's not what happened. I was just going along with what my mom said. She ordered me to do all this. Brad, what are you saying? Your failed business? Your failed relationships with young girls? Your gambling and debts? Aren't these all your doing? According to his mother, Brad had been trying to marry a young woman after our divorce. He also quit his job to start his own business, but it failed in just a month. Even with money, Brad was rejected by the unemployed man and became reckless, going around playing and gambling, saying that he had money and could afford it. He had said that he had almost no money left, and it seemed that it was indeed nearly zero. You brought this upon yourself. All this is Brad's fault, so at least forgive me. Despite their previous condescending attitudes towards me, they both desperately pleaded for forgiveness, trying to shift the blame and groveling. This was truly ridiculous. No, I won't forgive either of you. And this isn't something from the past, is it? You were treating me like a servant until a moment ago, right? Not leaving when I asked you to leave is illegal. And since the furniture collected by my late father-in-law is now mine, you'll need to compensate me for that. But... All right. We will compensate you. Just please don't get the police involved. You wouldn't want me to go to jail, would you? I actually don't care at all. By the way, we're married. It turned out I was married to my brother-in-law, Reagan. Or rather, he was my former brother-in-law, now my husband. You? It hasn't even been a year, and you've moved on to another man? My own brother at that? What are you talking about? You moved on before you were even divorced, didn't you? You wouldn't return Daisy to me, no matter how many times I asked. Stop clinging to the past already. Brad was left speechless. I don't care anymore. I'll pay for whatever damages there are. How much for my idiot husband's junk? Well, if we calculate roughly, about $100,000. Huh? What? The furniture that my father-in-law had collected was all high-end pieces made by famous designers. Brad and his mother, who had no interest in these items, seemed to have believed they were just junk. You're going to compensate for what you've broken, right? We're not sure if we can get the same items, but Make sure to pay properly." Brad and his mother, unable to afford such compensation, were distraught. For the time being, the police took the two of them away for trespassing and vandalism. Of course, I didn't forgive them and went ahead with the lawsuit. Afterwards, Brad and his mother, who were desperately seeking help from Reagan, were bluntly rejected, with him saying, "I'm ashamed to even be related by blood." Brad and his mother were likely receiving their just deserts together. And there's one more thing I kept secret. My father-in-law told me to sell the house and use the money as I wish. Reagan had told me that the price of the house was $100,000, but in reality, the documents stated the value of the house around $500,000. It's a good location, so it might sell for a bit more, but for now, Reagan and I decided to take it easy in the house my father-in-law left us, with no plans to sell it. Eventually, we planned to sell the land and build a new house. I had some worries about having children, so after getting married to Reagan, I went to the gynecologist for a checkup, but there were no issues with either Reagan or me. Now, with the troublemakers gone, Reagan and I are living happily together.